OBJ. That's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
David Montgomery on the Lions. Former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit. Lamar Jackson, you fucking bum. You're a fucking bum. Lamar Jackson, you told us we could trust in you, but you're a fucking bum. You're a bum, you're a bum, you're a fucking bum. And no matter what we do, you still fucking suck. We waited not to drop you, even though we should have. And all you did was piss on our backs and wish you had. You're a bum, you're a bum, you're a fucking bum. Lamar Jackson, you are a fucking bum. Luckily, I picked up Jackson Dart, and I'll start him next week. I couldn't start him this week because he's on a bye week. So I gave you one more chance to prove that you don't suck, but you did, and now I don't give a fuck. That's how I'm feeling right now. One game away from my playoffs, and Lamar Jackson continues this perpetual cycle of suck. And I got to say, like, if Jackson Dart wasn't on a bye week, I was ready to start him, which is crazy, right? I'm starting Jackson Dart over Lamar, but honestly, it was the easiest decision. And then I saw he was on a bye week, and I'm like, I have to ride this bum out one more week. And I thought, well, you know, there were some guys in the fantasy football world that were saying, don't freak out. Like last week, his numbers sucked, but there was that fumble on the goal line by Isaiah Likely. There was another drop touchdown. And, you know, had those not happened, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And I thought, okay, you know, his upside is remarkable. This is a guy that was like a 40-point lock. So, you know, you have to be very sure when you put a guy like that on the bench, because that is one way to lose your I'll say the worst way to lose a fantasy football week is for there to be a guy on your bench, not like a guy that's like, oh, Rodriguez from Washington had 35 points. If I started him, I would have won. But you wouldn't. Who would have known that would have happened? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when a guy like Lamar Jackson is on your bench, and you're like, if I would have started him, I would have won this week. Somebody that you typically would start every week. Those are the worst losses. So you do want to be very careful when you put a guy like him on the bench. So to say that I was ready to do that, I mean it. Like that does not come lightly. You don't just make those decisions on a whim if you know what you're doing and you're good at fantasy football. I mean, if you look at the Yahoo Fantasy Football Lamar Jackson discussion page, everybody claims like, oh, I'm dropping this bum. Okay, those guys are, you know, they get mad and they say things like that, but 9 times out of 10, they still have him starting the next week. That's just their way of venting. But in this case, it was time for him to go to the bench, and I couldn't do it. There was only one guy I could pick up, and it was Baker Mayfield. The only problem is Baker Mayfield's been dealing with an injury. Last week, he didn't really throw the ball. Bucky Irving kind of luckily came back, and it was just kind of like a hey, we're not going to ask you to do too much. So I don't know where he was at with his injury. And on top of that, last time Tampa Bay played the Saints, it was Baker Mayfield's worst game of the year. He had like 3 or 4 fantasy points. So it was like either Baker Mayfield under those conditions or Lamar Jackson. And I'm 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 doing it again, and I can hardly blame anybody besides myself. But I cannot believe that somebody that was a fantasy football league winner week 1, 2, 3 is now the sole reason that I've lost the number 1 seed. And I mean, now I'm on like a 3-game losing streak since Lamar Jackson got healthy. Uh, it honestly, Lamar getting his health back and starting is the worst thing that's happened to me this year. Uh, Wild to say out loud, but we got Crafty Southpaw in the chat. Only Football Podcast is back. Absolutely. Happy Sunday, everybody. Daniel Barry, Sports Highlights in the chat. I think you can hear him, right? Saw your dad now, Kyle. Congrats. Tyrod picked on the goal line. And I'm just kind of going through game day right now. Let me show you guys somebody. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the cutest baby in the whole world. Whoa, look at this baby. Isn't he adorable? Isn't he the cutest? I don't have a boob. I don't have a boobie. You hungry? All right, let's bring you back to mom. He's trying to eat me. All right. Lamar, there's a pulse. Gosh, I'm gonna need more. I'm gonna need more. It's a start. What is he? All right, he's up to 9 points. That's good. Game log. Week 1, 37. Week 2, 40. Week 3, 38.27. Since he's come back, week 11, 6 points. Week 12, 10 points. Week 13, 9 points. Like, come on. Jaden picked and maybe hurt again. Okay. This is a great time to bring this up. What are the Commanders doing? Why is Jaden Daniels playing? I mean, we all saw the injury. And if you were here when we live streamed that game, the play before it happened, I was like, why is Jaden Daniels still in the football game? It makes no sense. Why is he in the game? And then, the arm dislocates. It looked terrible. It looked like he broke it. I guess he dislocates it. But what the Commanders did with Jaden Daniels in the fourth quarter on Sunday Night Football, which I thought they all learned from, they're doing it again, but now it's just, instead of it being the fourth quarter of a game, it's the fourth quarter of a season that there's nothing to play for. Just like Sunday Night Football, fourth quarter of a game, nothing to play for. This is the fourth quarter of the 2025 season, and there's nothing to play for. And why is he back? I just don't understand. Like, you get a better draft pick. And I'm not saying I'm like for tanking. I'm really not. But if there's if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing the right thing. You're trying to protect your future in a season that there's nothing to play for. And yes, if you get, if you benefit from a higher draft pick because of that, then that's not your fault. And I wouldn't even call it tanking. But overall, there's just so many layers to why it's a bad decision to have Jaden Daniels out there right now. And I know that, hey, Kyle, they're not mathematically eliminated. Okay, whatever. Okay, sure. But we all know that they're not going to the playoffs. And the fact of the matter is, last Sunday night, Marcus Mariota played maybe his best game I've ever seen. Since he was like good for a couple years in Tennessee in that playoff game where he threw a touchdown pass to himself. I mean, like, Marcus Mariota had maybe the second most success against our defense than any other quarterback. Jackson Dart being number one. Any news on the Devon Achane injury? Because I traded Jonathan Taylor for Achane solely based on strength of schedule. Okay, so rib injury. Okay, better. Okay, I'm okay with that. Not an Achilles, not a knee, not a bone. I'm good with that. My Maserati goes 185. There we go. There we go. That's better.
He starts crying every time he gets close to his mom.
Really?
Yeah.
That's sad.
It's because he can smell her milk and he can't have no milk.
Because he's puking?
Yeah. You want the daddy?
Okay. Did she type? Hold on. Whew. Okay, you guys know how it is with the newborn, right? But I'm here. Just got to pop out. Just got to pop out sometimes. But we are good to go. We are good to go. Speaking of good to go, let's see. 3rd and 5 for Trevor Lawrence. Brian Thomas Jr. Is that Brian Thomas Jr.? I haven't heard from him in a while. Is this his first game back? Dude, the Bills in Bengals game looks awesome. Looks freaking amazing. But guess what? I live in Tennessee. So guess what's on national television? The Titans and Browns. Seasonal. Calculator 1850 divided by 2, 925. Oh, Jonathan Taylor with the fumble. So, all right. Sorry, I got to transfer some money to pay a bill real quick. How do you think the Daniel Jones injury is going to affect Jonathan Taylor? My God, my profile is on hold. All right. So, a fumble, Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson with the with the fumble. All right. Here we go. Share screen. All right. Let's see. There we go. All right. All right. So these are all tweets. PPR. Done. All right. Josh Allen, touchdown, Dalton Kincaid. Oh, yeah, Dalton Kincaid. That's who I had to trade. James Cook. let's see. Scores 17 is 28-10. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to let's go out one more. There we go. All right. Harrison Smith picks off Marcus Mariota. Ooh, there it is. Number 22. 17-0 now. And maybe Justin Jefferson can get something going, because Justin Jefferson has not been relevant at all. He had 2 points last week. Justin Jefferson, 2 points. Crazy. Justin Jefferson has 3 points still. Kyle Pitts is up to 13. Aaron Rodgers going deep. DK Metcalf. No, not a touchdown, but a very big completion down the sideline in the first quarter. Then Aaron Rodgers is going to run it in. No way. It's over. Aaron Rodgers with the championship belt. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Lamar just doesn't like running anymore, it seems like. Oh my God, that was a terrible interception. Terrible interception. What is going on with him? I didn't see that pick. It's all right. Keep your head up, Lamar. Keep your head up. I'm going to need you. Boswell puts the field goal through, but there's a flag, and it's on the Ravens. So what's the penalty? What was the call? Fourth and 2 with 6 minutes left. They kick a field goal, the Steelers, on the 15-yard line. They call contact to the head and neck area on the Ravens, and there's absolutely nothing, 0. And it turns into a touchdown from Kenneth Gainwell. And then all of a sudden it's 17-3. Pretty wild stuff, man. So it's 9-17. Would they miss the extra point? I guess they missed the extra point. Jaden Daniels with an elbow, questionable to return. Excuse me. New version of camo. Install on quit. JSN touchdown. I had JSN scoring a touchdown today. Let's check on some of these bets. Here we got new QB steps in for Tyrod Taylor, Brady Cook. Yeah, that's Tom Brady's cousin and the nephew of Dalvin Cook. Sam Darnold. And JSN has a touchdown. Sam Darnold with a rushing touchdown. Who had that on their bet slip this week? Don't lie to me. Am I the only one that had that? Just kidding. I didn't have that. Nobody had that. Big game later today. We got the Bears and the Packers. This is going to be the first real test for the Bears. I know that they beat the Eagles. That was a really good win. But, this is like when we played the Chiefs for the Bears. Of course. Of course. I mean, I'm pretty sure because it's Bears Packers. If he doesn't, I will demand that he turns in his Bears fan card by tomorrow. And look, I've collected a lot of fan cards over the years. I mean, if you're not showing up to this game, there's going to be another fan card being collected. We're at a commercial right now, so let me ask you guys this. What NFL city bills itself as title town? Is it A, Pittsburgh, B, Dallas, C, Denver, or D, Green Bay? Which NFL city bills itself as title town? Pittsburgh, Dallas, Denver, or Green Bay? Bears finally reach the number 1 seed. Rick goes MIA. The poor man just couldn't handle the success. And Crafty says Pittsburgh. Not going to lie, I didn't have to look this one up. This one is definitely Green Bay. And I guess growing up in Wisconsin, you would know something like that. Okay. Fact or fiction? Former Raiders and Cowboys wide receiver Raghib Ismail is nicknamed the Missile. I'm going to say true. Too long to be wrong. Too specific to be mystic. It's actually fiction. I'm wrong. What NFL wide receiver's father, Gary, was a 5-time Gold Glove winner during his 11-year career in Major League Baseball? Is it Amari Cooper, Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, or Dante Pettis? Which NFL wide receiver had a father who was a 5-time Gold Glove winner during his 11-year career in professional baseball? Amari Cooper, Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, Dante Pettis. I'm going to go with Amari Cooper, but I really don't know. ESPN's Titletown USA refers to the 2008 nationwide competition for the sports network named Bulldosa, Georgia. For the sports network. That's hilarious. No, so in Green Bay, they have like the street that Lambeau Field is on, which is wild because if you've ever been there, it is not like any other stadium in the NFL where you're, like, driving into the city and then it's like, "Where do I park?" Um, it's like you're driving in the suburbs in the middle of Wisconsin, and you're like, "Oh, there's the Hanks. Oh, there's Wilbur, he's cutting his grass. Oh, there's the Davidsons staring at their water heater, drinking a beer." And then it's like, "Hey, can you turn left on Swamico Drive?" And, you turn left, and then it's like, "Is that the fucking Packers stadium?" It's like, "Yeah, that's where they put it." They put it in Larry's backyard, but that street is called Titletown. And, they got the name Titletown because after the AFL merged the NFL and there was Super Bowl, the very first Super Bowl, and the Packers won it, and, um, I suppose because of how often the Packers were winning championships and Super Bowls, and, I'm gonna give you the exact answer. How did the Packers get the name Titletown? How Green Bay became Titletown. Green Bay was proclaimed Titletown, USA on December 6, 1961 during a breakfast held at Green Bay's old Baymont Hotel and attended by more than 100 local businessmen. This was before the Packers won their first NFL title under Vince Lombardi. That's crazy. So they got this name before they won their first title under Vince Lombardi, who the Super Bowl trophy is named after. Here's the backdrop. 3 days earlier, the Packers beat the New York Giants 20-17 at Milwaukee County Stadium to clinch the Western Conference Championship and assured Green Bay would be the site of the NFL championship game for the first time ever. Back then, the championship game rotated between the Eastern and Western conferences from year to year. So the Super Bowl would, it would be the equivalent to 1 year the AFC team that's represented in the Super Bowl would play a home game in the Super Bowl. The next year, the NFC team would play a home game in the Super Bowl. That's kind of cool, but different. Although the Packers had won 6 previous NFL titles under Curly Lambeau, the only time they had played host to a championship was in 1939. That makes sense. So, this thing rotates back and forth every single year, and under Curly Lambeau, like, they've won 6 NFL titles, and the only time they had played host to a championship was in 1939, and the game was played in Milwaukee, largely because the State Fair Park had a larger capacity than the old City Stadium. To say the least, Green Bay fans were not happy with that decision. I mean, imagine that. You've won 6 championships, and you haven't gotten to host any of them, and then the one time you're lined up to play a home championship game, they go ahead and move the game to a different stadium? That's pretty crazy. So the fans are not happy with that decision, and 22 years later, when it became a certainty that the title game was when it became a certainty that the title game was going to be played in Green Bay, just about everyone in the city overcame with euphoria. It was 22 years later from when the Packer fans lost their minds because of how mad they got, that finally it was time to host, and the Packers were like, "No, we're not playing it here. We're gonna play it in Milwaukee," which, by the way, is about 2 hours away from Green Bay. I was born in Milwaukee, and I lived in Green Bay, and it is not close, and the equivalent to it would be the equivalent to, like, being in Nashville and them saying, like, the Titans Super Bowl is gonna be played in Indianapolis. It's like, "What?" Now, granted, it's the state of Wisconsin, so it makes a little difference, but it is not like, it's not like how Arlington is 40 minutes from Dallas, or Hollywood, where the Dolphins play, is technically the Miami-Dade, it's Miami-Dade County, but it's still, 20 minutes away from Miami. I lived in downtown Miami. There's no Dolphins stadium there. It's 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes towards Fort Lauderdale. So, but this isn't one of those situations. Like, this is a completely different part of Wisconsin. Okay. So 22 years later, it became a certainty that the title game was gonna be played in Green Bay, and then everybody in the city overcame with euphoria. You gotta understand, in Green Bay, these people have nothing. It is freezing. It is cold. It is not an outdoorsy place like, hey, there's people riding bikes and rollerblading and doing a lot of active things because it's so cold. People drink to stay warm. They drink because alcoholism runs in the family, but they're very functional. There's a lot of functioning alcoholics. It's very normal to pick up your kids from school and go to the bar, and it's a different lifestyle, and the most important thing that these people have is the Green Bay Packers. I go to Green Bay all the time, or Wisconsin specifically because that's where my family lives, and as soon as you cross the border of Wisconsin, everything's Packers. I mean, McDonald's is like, get a free fry when the Packers win. Everything. I mean, the gas station, the pumps, the cars. It is the most important thing to these people. And I was just telling somebody, my girlfriend's sisters who stayed with us last night. I was talking to them this morning because she doesn't watch football, and I was trying to tell her how different the quarterbacks have evolved from Brett Favre to Caleb Williams. And she's like, "What's Brett? What's the difference?" And I'm like Caleb Williams paints his nails and wears a purse, and Brett Favre was abused by his father and like grew up in the sticks in Mississippi. And it's just totally different. Like when I was a kid, I looked at these quarterbacks like, man, these are grown men. And part of it, I'm sure, is me getting older. But now I'm like, I look at like, Caleb Williams, and he's crying on his mom, and it's like, oh, it's great. We're gonna celebrate men being vulnerable, and I'm for all of that. But also, it's like, can't you do that in private? You know what I mean? Like, does it have to be like, in front of everybody? Like, can't you like, geez, like get it together? Like, I don't want my quarterback to be that fragile. And I know me and Rick disagree about this, dramatically. I'm sure we've gotten in fights over this. But it's a different generation of men. And in a lot of cases, you know, we've made a lot of improvements. And I'm very, um, I would say, progressive in that there's a lot of toxic things about the old generation of men that I'm happy we've separated from, but then there's this, like, an overcorrection where it's like, "Okay, stop sobbing, on your mom, like, get it together." So, like, it's just different, and I was trying to tell her, about what Brett Favre, who he was, and, like, when I told her, like, "Before I tell you that Packer fans burned Brett Favre's jersey, I have to first tell you, like, what Brett Favre was to Wisconsin." And the best way I can describe it, and I don't mean this in a sacrilegious way, as a Christian, I'm saying this, the closest thing I could explain it as is like a Jesus type figure. Like, they named their children after Brett Favre, their dogs, their restaurants, they closed. I mean, Brett Favre was a god to Green Bay. And that's why you saw some of the decisions he made later in his life with, like, sending nudes to the Florida State, because eventually, somebody telling you you're a god for 15 years, you start to feel like, "I could do anything and never get in trouble," because that's been my experience. That's been my reality. And, some of that stuff caught up to Brett Favre, but, like, I don't think I think most football fans don't realize how important the Packers are to Wisconsin. I think they just assume that it's like any other place, like Pittsburgh, or Denver, or like San Francisco. It's just like yeah, we all get they're a good football, they have a good following. It's so much more than that. And that's why I say if you really love the NFL, it should be a bucket list item to take a trip and go to Green Bay and just experience that whole thing. It is an experience. It feels like, when you're walking down that road that Vince Lombardi walked down, you walk out of the tunnel and you see that same stadium, that the first Super Bowl. Like, it is, just do it. Just trust me and do it. So anyway, the Packers flew from Milwaukee to the West Coast for their final 2 regular season games, but the people of Green Bay were so giddy that they immediately started planning for a New Year's Eve title game. Presumptuously, they adopted the Titletown name and mapped plans that included hanging Titletown banners throughout the city's downtown, holding a December 23rd Christmas party for the team at the Brown County Veterans Memorial Arena, and adopting the theme song Titletown USA, sung to the tune of Mr. Touchdown. The breakfast essentially launched a nearly month-long civic party and set the stage for maybe the most ruckus New Year's Eve celebration in Green Bay's history when the Packers crushed the Giants 37-0 in the championship game to justify the Titletown name. The guy that wrote this said, "I was 14 years old at the time, and to this day, I don't believe there has been a Packers game more eagerly anticipated by local fans than that one." I'd also add you could learn much more about the story of Titletown in the '61 championship by visiting the new Packers Hall of Fame, which is another reason you guys should just go. So, that's crazy. So they never got to host one, then they finally, 22 years later, they've waited. Some people are in their 60s, 70s, and it's like they waited their whole life, and now it's finally here, and the Packers, um, you know, they had to fly to the West Coast for their final 2 games of the regular season, but the people in Green Bay were so giddy that they immediately started planning for the New Year's Eve title game. It would've been like, "Hey, we're 2 weeks away from the Super Bowl. Let's start planning now." And, they I mean, it's a really great story, and this is the first time I've really dug into the details, but I'm sure there's a documentary somewhere about this. Bills deep in Bengals territory. Yeah, but Green Bay sucks. Go. Okay. Bills have just fumbled out of the end zone. Ertz hurt and helped off the field. We got Little E. What is up? What happened to your name? The TPG 789? That's not Lil E. What happened? Cook fumbles on the goal line. I saw that, and I'm pissed because I had him scoring 2 touchdowns. Lot of scoring today. Lot of scoring today. I had Steelers plus 5.5. They're winning by 4. I had Seattle minus 6.5. They're winning by what is that? 13? Or 14, 15, 16, 17. I took the Bengals plus 5.5. They're winning by 3. I took Jacksonville plus 2.5. They're winning by 15. And I took the Titans plus 3.5. They are only down 3. So far, this is a $126 payout, and it's all hitting. Those were my 6 favorite spreads this week. Let's see. Luckily for me, Devon Achane got his touchdown before he got injured. Breece Hall still hasn't gotten in. Josh Allen hasn't gotten in. I'm hoping Chris Godwin, I put a Mark Andrews anytime touchdown in this week because of the deal he signed. Cook dropped the ball just to screw you. It is. It is. That's weird. I don't know why it changed. Let me go see what happened. Is there a way the Ravens and Steelers can both eliminate each other from the playoffs? There isn't, but there is a major difference in this game because if the Steelers lose this game, I forget how it was worded, but this is essentially a playoff game for the Steelers. Now, if they lose this game, the Ravens, control their own destiny even if they lose week 18. But if the Steelers win, then I forget how it is, but the way it was worded, I remember the takeaway, and the takeaway is this, okay? I can't remember the details, but I remember the takeaway, and that's all that matters, so just trust me on this. I heard this on Good Morning Football. The takeaway is that The Steelers have much more to lose today than the Ravens. Can't remember why or how or the numbers, but that is the fact of the matter. This is not equal, even though the records are close, and it seems like, yeah, what's the big deal? They play another game in Week 18. That's what I thought. It couldn't be further from the truth. And for whatever reason, this is a massive game for the Steelers. This is a play. This is like a win and this is like a not win and you're in, but it's like a lose and you're out for the Steelers. So they're playing a playoff game right now. And it's funny because if you look at like playoff probability with win and with loss, typically around this time of the year, it's worth like 10 to 15 points. But the Steelers game, if you see with the Ravens, like it was like if they lose, they go from like a 45% chance to a 35% chance. But with the Steelers, it was like they go from a 65% chance with a win to like a 13% chance with a loss. It just much more at stake there. Even with 8 losses, the Bengals are only 2 losses out of a division lead. It's insane, man. And the way Joe Burrow's playing right now, forget about it. And how you know what's funny? Everybody laughed at me in the beginning of the season when I was like, I was like, "I don't know, like, I wanna take the Patriots over the Bills," and I was like, "They're gonna win 10 games at least," and everyone's laughing, and now I'm looking at this. Damn, Cam Ward just made an amazing play to throw the ball away. Um, but I had the Panthers also winning the division. And man, when the Bucks were 5-1 and the Panthers were like 2-3, I was like, "I'm an idiot," right? I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't like, "Oh, this is gonna turn around for sure." I was like, you win some, you lose some." And it just goes to show how, like, no matter how good you feel, you're only 1 month away from feeling the exact opposite. I don't care if you're undefeated. If you lose 4 games in a row, things dramatically will change for you. And that's why it's so important in the NFL to realize, like, no matter what you've accomplished, you haven't accomplished anything. It's kind of like when you work out. It's like, you like the way your body looks? Well, you've rented that body. You don't own it. And guess what? Rent is due today. So get your ass to the gym. You don't get to just you can't live off yesterday's success. You gotta keep going. And it sounds cliche, but it's just a matter of fact. I mean, look how we felt about the Colts. People had them number 1 in their power rankings. Now all of a sudden, it's like, are the Colts gonna make the playoffs? That happened in 3 weeks. That's not even a full month. Not even a full month. Tampa Bay, 14-17. Saints currently driving. They're on the 9-yard line, 3rd and 2. What's going on with yeah, I think I need the Titans. Ooh, the Titans got a 1st and 15, and now they're on the 20 oh, they're on their own 29-yard line. Okay. And look at that, the Steelers. Was that a 3rd down conversion? Looks like a 20-yard pitch and catch from Rodgers. Rodgers is locked in, you guys. 17 for 26, 235 yards. Like, Rodgers is locked TF in. He's locked in right now. He's reminding the world that, "Hey, I don't know why the Steelers decided to have one of the worst passing defenses in the league as soon as I got here, but, I mean, this defense for the Steelers is like." Remember in the beginning of the offseason, it's like, who has the best defense? Is it the Steelers? Is it the Texans or the Broncos? Some people even had the Ravens in there, and it was like, okay, I mean, it was always, in my opinion, the Texans and the Broncos, period. And I would probably still give the edge to the Texans, but I wouldn't today. For most of the season, I thought so, but I could explain it to you in 1 minute why the Broncos are the best defense in the NFL. Number 1, they're the only team in the NFL that is top 15 in all 5 categories, right? Run defense, they're top 10. Pass defense, they're top 10. Total defensive yards allowed, they're top 10. Okay? There's only 3 teams that are top 10 in all those categories. It's Green Bay Packers, the Houston Texans, and the Denver Broncos. The Texans are fighting for the playoffs. The Packers and the Broncos should get in. I think the Texans will too because of that defense. But let's go to the offensive side of the ball. We got 3 teams, right? Packers, Broncos, Texans. Of those 3 teams, only 2 of them are top 15 in passing yards per game offensively. It is Green Bay and Denver. And of Green Bay and Denver, only 1 team is top 15 in rushing yards per game offensively. It's Denver, right? So Denver is the 1 team in the NFL that doesn't have a weakness you can exploit. And I was trying to make this point the other day. I was like, yeah, Denver doesn't get style points. They're not a flashy team. They don't beat you on the scoreboard by 20 points. But here's what they do. They win no matter what you're good at. That's why they beat the best offense, Dallas. They beat the best defense, Texans. They beat the Super Bowl champions, Eagles. They beat the AFC defending champions, the Chiefs. It doesn't matter what you do well because we don't have a weakness that you can exploit. We can't run the ball against Denver. We're just going to pass it. That's what a lot of teams do. And for some teams, it's like, yeah, their pass defense isn't as good as their run defense. But for the Broncos and the Texans and the Packers, they're good all around. Like there's nothing you can do offensively and be like, yeah, I can attack this because they're bad at it. Now, here's the difference. Because with all stats comes context. When you look at the Buffalo Bills, right? Somebody commented on this video I made and said, yeah, but Buffalo is in almost every one of those categories, top 15 in every one of those categories besides 1. And I said, yeah, buddy, but that 1 category Buffalo's not top 15 in is the most important one. It's rushing yards allowed defensively. And I can make that point easy because the top 8 teams in the NFL at stopping the run are all currently in the playoffs. Buffalo, not only are they not in the top 15, but Buffalo is one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. But if you go to pass defense, you'll see Buffalo's number 1 in the NFL. So if you didn't, look for the context, you would say Buffalo has an elite passing defense. Wrong-o, not true. The reason Buffalo has a great passing defense is because if you look at opponent passing attempts per game, Buffalo is number 1, meaning the fewest, meaning teams just don't throw the ball against Buffalo. They don't. They're throwing it on average 21 passes per game. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Nobody has fewer pass attempts on them than Buffalo. So of course, Buffalo leads the NFL in passing yards allowed. They're not passing it. Why are they not passing it? Because the run defense is so bad that teams are just running the football. That's why Buffalo, the teams they're playing are averaging, in the bottom third most rushing attempts per game. So they're running the football. They're not really passing it. But if you didn't look at that, you would say Buffalo's got an elite passing defense. And it's just not the case. Teams just don't even bother because why would I pass it when I can run it for 7 yards a pop? So what makes Denver unique from these teams is the fact of the matter is Denver is top 15 in the passing yards. They're top 10 in passing yards allowed. They're 9th. But the difference is the Texans and the Packers, who are the other 3 teams that are top 10 in all defensive categories, the Packers' opponents are throwing it around attempts. They're throwing it, around 15, mediocre, right in the middle. They're not getting like an unusual high volume of passes on them. And the Texans are right next to them at 17th. So it's like, okay, like these are teams that are top 10 in passing yards allowed, but their opponents, they're not passing the ball, but they're not throwing a high volume of passes. So if they had a good passing defense, you would expect them to land somewhere in the top 10 if they're getting, middle of the pack amount of passes on them. But Denver's 27th in the NFL when it comes to how many times their opponents are passing the ball, meaning there's only 6 teams in the NFL that are, or I'm sorry, 5 teams in the NFL that are having more pass attempts on their team than the Broncos. Meaning every time the Broncos play on Sunday, their opponents are throwing the ball more than 27 of the 32 teams, which is incredible because if you look at the 5 teams that are having the most passes on them, all the 3 of the 5 of those teams are 27th or worse in passing yards allowed per game because there's such a high volume of passes that they're giving up a lot of passing yards. What makes Denver being inside the top 10 in passing yards allowed so impressive is that Denver is in that category despite the unusual high volume of passes their opponents are throwing. There's only one other team that is in the same boat, and it's the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks have a very similar amount of passes being thrown on them, likely because they keep getting out to big leads like the 30-9 lead that they're having right now, and their opponents are having to throw the ball a lot, yet the Seahawks are 11th and Denver's 9th in passing yards allowed per game. So Seattle's not top 10, but they're 11th. I mean, they're not far out. So Seattle and Denver are really in a category of their own completely. Their opponents are just dropping back and slinging it the entire day, and they've managed to stay in the top 10 as a passing defense. So when you really take a look at these numbers, Denver stands alone because Seattle's not in the top 10 in in some of these offensive categories, and that's what makes Denver just uniquely different than everybody. And I think because Denver isn't blowing people out, people are just thinking to themselves, I'm not really worried about Denver. Like, they're not really beating teams. But here's the other thing to keep in mind. If you actually look at the amount of like late score go ahead touchdowns to win the game, there's more this year than there's ever been in the history of the NFL. There's never been this many close games, period. So in a year where every single game is coming down to the last second, more than ever in the history of the sport, to be the team that's been able to win 10 of those close games in a row, not all 10 have been close, but they have 8 game-winning drives in their 10-game winning streak. To do that in a year like this, instead of looking at it as a weakness, if you really look at it for what it is, it's a strength because everybody's having to play these type of games. It's just that not everybody's winning all of them like Denver is. I really think Denver is I think they should be a Super Bowl. For the AFC, they're the Super Bowl favorite, in my opinion. There's not a team I trust more than the Broncos in the AFC. And I do expect all of their playoff games to be close games. I expect Denver to win like their playoff games like 16-23. Right? That's just what I expect. And you know what? I'm okay with it. Like, would I be happy if they blew them out like the Vikings right now, 31-0? Of course. But the parity in the NFL this year, it's not happening. It's just not going to happen. Not this year. J.J. McCarthy is playing really good right now. Crazy how many consecutive games the Patriots have won without the benefit of a bye. Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes I think when you're really in a role, you don't even want the bye. It's like the players want the bye, the coaches want the bye, but the fans don't. And I saw it with my team. We had the bye, and then we came out against Washington, and our defense, you know, it didn't look terrible, but it was, like, one of the worst games I've seen from them, and I expected that because they went into the bye, and coming out of the bye, it's like, "Ah, they're alright." But I just think the bye week can sometimes when you're really in a groove, it can hurt you because it's like, "Man, I'm really in a routine right now. Now you're telling me to forget about football, maybe take, like, a little mini 3-day vacation and come back to it," and it's like, I don't wanna change anything. Everything is going great right now. So, the bye week can be a good thing. I've seen it be a bad thing. And with the playoffs, it's like there's a lot of people that are like, I would rather be like the New York Giants who get into the playoffs at 7 and 9, but they won 4 games in a row to get to 7 and 9, and then they're like one of the hottest teams in the league, and then somehow win a Super Bowl versus being the number 1 seed. And I know for Denver specifically, they have they historically, they've been more successful as far as winning a Super Bowl when they haven't been the number 1 seed. And, you know, I don't know why that is, but, that's just the way it is. They've had more success being a any other seed besides the 1. And I was saying that too about New England is like Denver's like, "We gotta be the number 1 seed." And by the way, Denver controls their own destiny because the only reason New England kept going to number 1 over Denver is because Denver had a bye week 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, and New England's bye week is this week. So, it was like New England had 1 more game they've played. So, it would be like, Denver would play on Thursday night and win, they would be the 1 seed, and then the Patriots would win on Sunday and be the 1 seed. But the matter of the fact is, if Denver beats the Raiders today, they'll move to the 1 seed, and the Patriots and Broncos will have the same exact record, and that's why Denver truly controls its own destiny. Because if the Broncos and Patriots both win the rest of their football games, the Broncos would be the 1 seed, not the Patriots, which is a great place to be. Tony Pollard having himself a, little blast from the past type game. Bengals deep in Bills territory and a touchdown to Gesicki, who, funny enough, I actually picked up on my fantasy football team. The Titans take a lead here, score a touchdown. It's 21-17, and that is exactly what I'm talking about, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Justin Jefferson. How is it 31-0 and this bum still has only 4 points? This is ridiculous. How is it possible that between Lamar Jackson and Justin Jefferson, I have, like okay, no, Lamar got another touchdown. Alright, he had 9 points. Justin Jefferson has 3. Last week, he had 2. It's just ridiculous, and I keep s I started him again because I'm like, I know the moment I bench him, he's gonna like, how many targets does he have? That's what I wanna see. He only has 4 targets. It's crazy. Feed that man. Feed him. Let him eat. And, of course, I lost Devon Achane in the 2nd quarter. Luckily, he already had 17 points at that point, and I really hope this rib injury isn't terrible. Oh, no. He'll be fine, guys, calm down. My opponent had Daniels, so I'll take that trade up. Just say he's out. Tough break trying to make the playoffs. Did he play second half at all? No. He's back next week based off how he's not even been ruled out yet, LOL. They need to designate him to out for betting purposes. Vegas calls again. HN, you have been a monster. It shouldn't say questionable when he's out. Same thing on ESPN. You realize that status is set by NFL team, not fantasy. I need him to play next week. He's probably going to be back in if New York Jets come back into the game. That's what, regular people are saying. I don't know how much truth there is to this, but you definitely have the Ravens trying to mount a comeback here, and that game is becoming interesting enough to point my attention to at the moment. And Nash is like, "No, no." We're at a commercial there too. This is the first snap I've seen from Shedeur Sanders live, and it's a false start. It is snowing, and Titans are 1-11, trying to get a win. Oh, the penalty's actually gonna be on Jeffrey Simmons, Tennessee. Chris Olave, 10-yard completion. Quinshawn Junkins, ooh, loses 0.3 fantasy points because of a negative 3-yard rush. Field goal made by Nick Folk for the Jets. It is now 24-10, and it's a 14-point game. Jeffrey Simmons comes back after the approachment penalty and gets a TFL. Look at him just go right through. Look at him. He just plows through the offensive line. And Jeffrey Simmons, man, what a beast. It's 3rd and 7 now. They lost 4 yards on that carry because of Jeffrey Simmons getting into the backfield. And, yep, it looked like he grabbed his leg. The offensive lineman, Jeffrey Simmons, ran over, grabbed his leg, and that man is now down on the ground, and there's going to be an injury timeout on the field. And I'm going to let you guys know. I'm going to let you know right now who that player is. Let's see. No update from the Browns. Latest. Offensive line drops 1 by 1. Browns lose this, you fire Kevin Stefanski tonight. That's crazy. It's crazy how, you can win coach of the year and do everything he's done, and then you have a bad year and you fire your coach. It's like Sean Payton calls it getting through the 3-year point, because once you get through year 3, it's like, okay, now you're a long-term NFL coach, and it's like you think a guy like Stefanski's made it through that 3-year period, and it's like, nope, people still want to fire him. How many sacks does Garrett have in this game so far? Good question. Good question. Myles Garrett, I don't think he has any sacks. Here we go. let's see. Okay. Myles Garrett came into the season with a chance at NFL history. Garrett was at 19 sacks on the season. A 4-sack performance would give him a new single-season NFL record, breaking the old one of 22 and a half. Not only that, but Garrett was within 11 tackles for a loss at the record of 39. By the way, Myles Garrett is obviously going to win Defensive Player of the Year. That is solidified. There's no chance, no opportunity for anybody else. 3rd and 7, Shedeur Sanders in the pocket, pressure coming, sack lunch. Num, 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 num. And guess who? This guy, you might have heard of him. Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons. That's a really good job. They bring 2 guys in, swing Simmons around, and just a perfect, not a blitz. They only sent 4 guys, but just a great strategy to get pressure there. And now Cleveland having to punt it from their own 1, and it gets off cleanly. Looks like it's going to be fielded, and it will be at the 45, and he's going to go down. He's going to actually lose 5. Should have fair caught it. Ends up losing 5. Jags credited with an interception. Or Bears credited with, let's see, 24-17 New Orleans over Tampa Bay. Yeah, this is why I didn't start Baker Mayfield over Lamar. For some reason, he plays terrible against Saints. And then you add the injury, and it's like, no, that's going to be a pass for me. All right, back to Buffalo. It's 25-28. Oh my gosh. Are you freaking kidding me? What the heck? Jamar Chase can't catch a linebacker, and now Buffalo has the lead? What the hell? How did the Bengals screw that up? Weren't they just up 10 points like a minute and a half ago? Unbelievable. Whatever, just keep it within 5.5. That's all I care about. Pick 6. Shedeur Sanders so far today. These are Shedeur Sanders' numbers as of right now. Extra point is good, so it's 32-28. Ooh, I'm going up against Caleb Williams today. Kyle Pitts has 90 receiving. It's funny how this guy cannot get in the end zone. This guy would have 200 receiving yards and no touchdown. And by the way, Atlanta in the red zone right now. So maybe it'll happen here. Jalen Wright, Tyler Algier, rushed for 2 yards. They're at the 15-yard line. The Ravens rushed for 3 yards. They're at Pittsburgh's 25, so they're 5 yards away from getting into the red zone. Rashad White, 2-yard rush out of bounds. They're 26 yards away from scoring as well. So we got 3 different teams all close to scoring. For Tampa Bay, it was set up by a 32-yard rush by Bucky Irving. And that's what got him there. For the Ravens, let's see. Lamar Jackson, deep right, completed to Zay Flowers for 35 yards. That's how the Ravens got down there. And touchdown. Ollie Gordon, 7-yard rushing touchdown, and that's going to do it. 30-10, Dolphins. Man, this would have been a 40-point game if Devon Achane would have stayed in the game. I mean, the fact that he had like 90 rushing yards in the first quarter and a half, it's kind of sad. But you know what? At the same time, I don't need him to do that this week. I just hope he's healthy for next week. Like I said, I made one of the more controversial trades ever by trading Jonathan Taylor for Devon Achane. But the day of the trade deadline, I did that. And the reason I did it was because of strength of schedule. It doesn't take a genius to look at the schedule and be like, okay, the Colts' final 5 games, they play 4 of the top 3 running defenses in the NFL. And the Dolphins, who Devon Achane was like 3rd best running back in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor was 1st or 2nd behind McCaffrey. Devon Achane had the easiest rushing defenses down the stretch. So it was all about matchups. And I'm like, if there was a redraft, would I take Devon Achane over Jonathan Taylor? Well, he wouldn't have been available because I took Jonathan Taylor way later than he would have gone if there was a redraft. But I still probably would have taken Jonathan Taylor because of what he did for me up to this point. But with 5 games left in the season, I had Devon Achane ranked higher for the final 5 games. Burrow picked again. Are you kidding me? What the hell? Is he just shitting the bed? I don't care if Buffalo wins, but I need them to not win by more than they can't win by 6. I can't believe this dude just keeps throwing picks now. Oh, it was another tipped ball. Ball got tipped on the line, and Buffalo. So if they kick a field goal, it'll be a 7-point game. Unbelievable. The amount of things that have had to go wrong for the Bengals in the last 3 minutes. And it has. There's Ollie Gordon. Wow, Ollie Gordon's rushing touchdown. He was just. That's why you don't fire Mike McDaniels. Right there. That rushing touchdown is exactly why you don't fire McDaniels. He was wrapped up 7 yards shy of the end zone by 4 Jets, and the entire offensive line came and pushed him into the end zone. Well, when your team is, when they have the record that the Dolphins have and they're playing that type of no quit football, that's coaching. Ball is out. Titans recover. And the Titans return it all the way down to the 8-yard line. And that is massive for the Titans. Oh, they're doing the watch. I got time today. No. Diabolical. Oh my gosh. The Tennessee Titans defense forces the fumble. It gets recovered and brought back inside the 10, and the entire defense goes into the end zone, looks at the crowd, and holds up the watch. Wow. That is, like Deion Sanders would say, it's personal. It doesn't get much more personal than that celebration by Tennessee's defense. That was crazy. I really need a pen. And a touchdown. Titans touchdown. Wow. Cam Ward going against Shedeur Sanders. Remember, in the pre-draft process, these two were training together all offseason. Who gets the touchdown? Tell me it was Josh Allen. Josh Allen. James Cook. Dawson Knox. Man, none of this is helping me right now. Oh, okay. They take it off the board. No touchdown. Look how close it was, though. One. Yeah, he was juggling it out of bounds. No touchdown. I needed that. Sorry, Nash. I needed that because now if they kick a field goal, it's a 7-point game, and we can do the field goal. We can get a touchdown, tie the game. You know what? I think it's time to pull out the hoodie. I've had this hoodie in my closet for so long, waiting for the exact moment to pull it out. And ladies and gentlemen, It is time to pull it out. I feel like I can't even wear this without a chain. All right. Now we got a ball game, baby. All we need is a touchdown. Wait, did Buffalo score again? Damn it! Stupid sweater. I'm taking this stupid sweater off. There's still time. There's still time. And they get another TD. Great question, Crafty. Is Zach Taylor done? You know what? I don't know how he could be. You know, I get it. Like, the results haven't been there, but I mean, he hasn't had his quarterback the last 2 years, and when he finally got his quarterback, like, they almost made it to the postseason. And it's like last year, I mean, the real problem with the Bengals last year was their defense. It was not their offense. And the fact that Joe Burrow didn't win MVP last year is a testament to how bad that defense was. Because if that defense was even ranked 25th, they would have been a team nobody wanted to play. And Joe Burrow would have unanimously won MVP. Okay. Not taking anything away from Josh Allen. I'm happy. You know, he had a great season. I thought he deserved it over Lamar. Even though some people disagree and they show stats, I feel like what Josh Allen did with, you know, Diggs going to Houston and just like, he was, to me, when you have a couple games back to back where I think it was against the Rams and then they had to play Detroit the week after. And I think in the Rams game, he had like 5 total touchdowns. He had like 4 rushing touchdowns. And it was like, how is this guy like scoring that much? And then he, you know, went and played a great game against the Lions, which I think they lost. But whenever you have like 2 guys that are kind of neck and neck for the trophy, and they have similar records, and you can't just take the one that's got the better record, which is kind of the lazy way. I mean, it's like, I hate it because they always say it's not about the record, but it's like, okay, the Rams and Matthew Stafford's like the clear favorite to win MVP, and then they lose to the Panthers, and then now they're 1 game behind the Patriots, and overnight Drake May's the favorite. It's like, it's not about the record, really, because when Tampa Bay had the best record, like Baker Mayfield was all of a sudden the guy, and it just feels like we kind of chase our tails looking for the best record instead of just watching and evaluating. And if it was really just about like which player is the most valuable to his team, well, let's just start with, that's an impossible question to answer. There's no way to say that Lamar Jackson is less valuable to the Ravens than Joe Burrow is to the Bengals or Mahomes is to the Chiefs. I mean, it's the same thing. They're all elite quarterbacks that if you take them off their teams are no longer good, which we've seen with the Ravens this year, which we haven't seen with the Chiefs. But the fact that they won all those 1-score games last year, and this year they've lost all those 1-score games, tells you, man, how bad would this thing really fall apart if Mahomes wasn't on the Chiefs these last 2 years? I mean, we're talking about a 2-3 win team. I'm not even kidding. So like, how do you answer an unanswerable question? You can't. So all you can do is give it to whatever quarterback had the better year. And even that is an interesting question, because what constitutes better? Is it stats? Because look at the Patriots. I mean, they haven't gone again. Drake May's got good numbers. Great. Drake May hasn't played a top 10 defense all year. Not even one time. So, I mean, you can fluff your stats by just not having to play elite defenses, and then other teams, are like playing the Broncos and the Texans and the Packers. Actually, the Broncos are playing all those teams. The Eagles, they played the Texans. They played the Packers next week. So, like, maybe you got a quarterback with a little bit less numbers, but he's gone up against a much more difficult level of competition. You have to take it all into, consideration, all of it. And I feel like it rarely happens that way. But in my opinion, the MVP this year is Matthew Stafford. And I think it's pretty clear when you watch Stafford play this year that he's playing at a different level than everybody else. It doesn't look like what you see with Matthew Stafford. You're not seeing that anywhere else this year. Touchdown! Joe Burr, baby. I'm just trying to win. I got like $200 on the line. I really want Buffalo to win for you, Nash. I just need this thing to stay within 5. Can you do that for me? Can you keep it within 5? Here's the thing. If they don't recover the onside kick, okay, the game's over. They only have one timeout. Okay? He one-handed him. And look at this. He had to one-hand it because Buffalo's holding his right arm, and they don't even throw a flag on this. Imagine that. Oh, 2-point conversion attempt. Well, it would still be between 5.5. Just don't throw a pick 6. Bills jump on it, so it's at 5. Okay, it's okay. I had it at 5.5. So I'm still within 5.5. It's amazing how effing accurate the lines are from Vegas. Like, how do they get it this close? Think about all of the fumbles and the pick 6s and the bounces, and it's absolutely insane that the line's at 5.5 and this game's going to end with a 5-point win. I can't understand how, but it's not always like that. I mean, like I picked the Titans plus 3.5. They were 3.5-point underdogs, and they just blocked a punt. They're up 11, so they were 15 points off that game. The Jacksonville Jaguars I had at plus 2.5. I mean, they're winning by 23 points. And then Pittsburgh, I had plus 5.5. They're up by 5. They're up by 5. So that's going good. And then just the Bengals game, as long as it doesn't result, and as long as there's no more touchdowns and nothing gets squirrely with the Steelers game, then I'm going to win $126. And Derrick Henry knows that Lamar Jackson just short-armed it. Look at this. He's wide open. There's nobody even around him. And this is going to be maybe a touchdown. And Lamar, with nobody hitting him, just throws. I mean, it's a 5-yard pass, and he just throws it into the ground. Lamar's just something wrong with that guy this year. All right, here we go. Handoff, tackled right away, and it's going to be 3rd and 8. Bungles season effectively over. Yeah. Bungles lost twice in games where Flacco put nearly 40. That's on Taylor. I mean, yeah, that's what I was. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say about the MVP thing. It was just about how impressive Joe Burrow's season was last year and the fact that they missed the playoffs. It's because of how bad their defense is. And then they go into this season, and in the offseason, they're asking the offensive coordinator or the head coach about, what their plan is this year at defense. And they say, we just need to score more points than the other team. And I'm thinking, no, you dipshit. That was your plan last year. And you didn't make the playoffs. That's a bad plan. And the Bengals went to the podium and told the whole world that we're running that plan back. And I'm like, that is the dumbest thing ever. Like, if last year didn't teach you that you need to have at least a mediocre defense if you want to really win a Super Bowl, go find the last Super Bowl champion that was ranked 25th or worse defensively in total yards or passing yards or rushing yards. It just doesn't happen. You can't. And the fact that the ball came out, was that a touchdown by Isaiah Likely? They're going to call it a touchdown. Ball came out. It was like a bang, bang, but they're going to call it a touchdown. It'll be reviewed, of course, because it's a scoring play. I'll let you know. But yeah, the fact that they didn't run it back. Now, that I believe is on the head coach, because people want to blame defense on the defensive coordinator. But at the end of the day, like, the buck stops with the head coach. And if this is really the philosophy of your team, like, they should be all in on defense. Like, why is T. Higgins getting paid while Trey Hendrickson is on a holdout? Now, that's what went on this offseason. Like, your defense, you have one of the worst defenses in the league and one of the best players in the league that you have on your defense. You're dicking around with his contract while paying T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I mean, is there any better? I mean, this is like having a car that won't start, and instead of getting a new engine, you go put $10,000 rims on it. It's like, rims. Are you gonna start the vehicle? Because like, it's ridiculous. I mean, we see coaches do this all the time, where it's like, they become a head coach and then they make all these splash moves. They want to bring in these big name receivers, these Odell Beckhams, of 10 years ago. But the coaches that know what they're doing, Sean McVay, Sean Payton, Dan Campbell, Matt LaFleur, Ben Johnson. All right, why did Ben Johnson take the Bears to the moon this year? Easy, because the first thing he did as the head coach was fix the offensive line. The first thing Sean Payton did was say, okay, we're going to sign Ben Powers, we're going to sign Mike McGlinchey, and we're going to get this offensive line shored up and make it a top 5 in the league. Once we did that, then we started, let's draft this guy. Let's get RJ Harvey. Let's get Pat Bryant. Let's bring in Evan Ingram. Let's bring in these offensive weapons, these jokers. But what's the point if our quarterback doesn't have time for my plays to even develop? Now, the best coaches in the league all understand that the most important thing on the field is the thing that gets the least amount of attention, and it's the offense and the defensive line, the trenches. That's when you win. That's where you win or lose games. I mean, if you just show me the trenches matchup, I would pick the winner 9 out of 10 times. If it's lopsided, 9 out of 10 times, it's going to go to the team that's, on the right side of the lopsidedness. But when the Bengals are like, we want T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, it's like, that's great, but I'm glad that you want that. But it feels like a little bit like when you have a kid that doesn't know how to budget, and it's like, I want this. And it's like, you need this, right? You don't have the luxury to keep T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I know you want to, and I know Joe Burrow went to bat for you, but your job is to get him out of his own way. Joe Burrow thinks he wants T. Higgins, and maybe he does because they're friends, but does Joe Burrow also want to keep missing the playoffs? Because that's what's at stake, and Like, who knows what would have happened if Joe Burrow stayed healthy all year? My gut tells me it would have been a run back of what we saw last year. All right. I'm trying to see where's NFL game day? There it is. It's the witching hour. 24-20, Saints take over the ball. Chase Young and Baker Mayfield is struggling. Throws a low pass and did not pick up the first down, and that is your final 24-20. And wow. We got Richard Ramiro in the chat. What's going on, brother? No more score. We can agree on this. Thank you. The prospect of the Bears leading the NFC left him comatose. Infarted. Crafty. 3rd and 15 for Buffalo, and they convert. Buffalo wins. Buffalo wins? Is that a final? Can you give me final? Can you give me a final with no more points? T. Higgins, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. Great game from him today. And this is this Steelers Ravens game's coming down to the wire here, and we're about to shift gears because see, Josh Allen got a touchdown. The only touchdown I didn't get was James Cook, which would have paid $350. And he had a touchdown. He fumbled on the 1-yard line. 2nd and 9. The Steelers have taken over the football, by the way. Now, the Ravens have 3 timeouts, and they're going to call them. But best case scenario is the Ravens get the football back, and they have to score a touchdown because they're down by more than 3. They're down by 5. They score a touchdown and win the game. And, you know, the line was plus 5.5. So I won because there's no way the Ravens are winning this game by 6 points. Best case for the Ravens, they're going to win it by 2 points. They would probably go for 2 if they get it to go up by 3. If they don't get it, they'll win by 1 point or they'll win by 3. Unless they get a touchdown, go for 2, go up by 3. The Steelers get the ball, get into field goal range, tie the game at 30, and we go to overtime and it's 30-30, and the Ravens score a touchdown and the Steelers don't. And in that case, the Ravens would have won by 6. And that would suck. Well, if the Steelers got the ball first and didn't score and the Ravens scored, they would win by 6. But if the Ravens got the ball first, they would kick the extra point. And then the Steelers, if they don't score, they would lose by 7. It's crazy that they had the touchdown. How is that not a touchdown? How is that not a touchdown? Isaiah Likely had the ball for like 4 steps in his hands, and then the ball comes out. But it's like, how is that not already a touchdown? Like, if I'm a Ravens fan, I'm livid right now. Like, I'm not okay with that call. And I'm not even cheering for the Ravens. Holy shit, the Broncos game just started. Holy shit. Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. I didn't know it was a 305. I thought it was a 325. Big difference. Come on. Incomplete. Humphrey on the coverage. So all right. Broncos ball. Broncos got the ball. All right. Second The Broncos starting with the football here. What the fuck? 10, I'm sorry for cursing. 5 minutes have come off the clock. What the hell? Oh, okay, here we go. Bo Nix throwing back shoulder caught. Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton with the back shoulder, baby. Final. Let's go. I put this jersey on week 4, and we haven't lost since. So I go RJ Harvey. Here we go. 1st and 10. Broncos moving the ball. Here we go. Bo Nix looking. RJ Harvey out of bounds. This is my first stream of the Denver Broncos since my son was born. Whew. Here we go. Handoff. Jaleel McLaughlin. Good run. Flag. Please don't be holding. First penalty. Ooh, they might get Crosby with offsides. They're going to accept it, even though it looked like they picked up 7. I thought they might decline that one. Here we go. Here's a handoff. Yes, Tyler Bidet. Here we go. Here we go. Here's a handoff. RJ Harvey. Oh, good run by RJ Harvey, but Raiders did a good job swarming to the football. Would love to see the Broncos get some points instead of kicking a field goal. We've seen a lot of that this year. Getting a good opening drive, coming down, and kicking a field goal instead of a touchdown. The Broncos had 8-minute drive so far. Here we go. Bo Nix, 2nd and goal. Looking. He's going to take off himself. Damn it. Should have just ran it. Run. Don't be a... Run. I think Bo Nix, though, realized that if he would have ran there, he would have put himself at a risk to being injured. I mean, Nix has done a great job keeping himself healthy, and I trust that decision. 3rd and goal. Oh, my God. Delay of game? Fuck! Why do we do this every game? Go on a long, methodical, great drive and shit the bed inside the 5-yard line. Why wouldn't Sean call a timeout there? Officials just stole that call away from the Ravens. Debatable calls are supposed to stay with the call in the field anyway. Very good point. I agree 100%. He's going to run it. Bo Nix knows football. Let's go. Woo! That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Here we go, baby. I'm so happy we scored right there. Trying to get my it's like I'm covering my whole background. There you go. There. All right. It's better. Let me see if I can slide this over a little more. Maybe even I can slide over. No, I need to be this way. There we go. Broncos traveled really well to this game. It's funny how my whole life, the Raiders were the team that I was like, I hate the Raiders. I hate the Raiders. And I still do, but it's definitely become more about the Chiefs. Here we go. All right. I'm like, no more playing around. Football. Brock Bowers in motion. Pressure. Geno fires, caught. First down. A big hit by Hufanga. But it's a 10-yard gain. Don't like this wire being here. Here we go. First down. They're going to run it. And Jonathan Cooper, or I'm sorry, Genty is going to pick up 3, tackled by Jonathan Cooper. All right. And the Steelers get the win. Here we go. Geno, another first down. Damn. Oh. Is Hufanga okay? He went to the sideline after that. All right, so the Raiders are moving the ball pretty well right now. Quick throw to the outside, caught by Genty. Here we go. I really wish I could change the third down. All right, so the Steelers, we get the Steelers winning over the Ravens. Let me make okay, next commercial. I'm going to drop out of this so I can jump over to the stream that Rick just started. It's been a long time coming, but we're coming back. Me and Rick about to stream. Oh, another first down. All right, I'm going to see if I can join him real quick. Wait, no. I'm gonna end this really quick, and then I'll be right back. Rick just started a stream, so just head there.